a major Fox News interview that Kamala Harris conducted last night with interviewer Bret Baier. This was with just 20 days before the election.
We were all kind of sitting there with our jaws dropped. Like, why did her campaign think this was a move that would help her? And all of us came to that same conclusion, which is the polls they see must be much worse than any of the national or state polls that we're seeing outside of the campaign.
Her campaign must be, to some degree, a little freaking out that there is bad poll numbers internally and that she needed to do something here. Just the podcast interviews, all of the things she's been doing aren't enough. She had to do something to try to spruce up her campaign, get a little bit of energy because the momentum has completely stalled out. And so what do? We take an adversarial interview. We go on Fox News and we try to reach a segment of the voting base that may be traditionally conservative, traditionally Republican, leans to vote that way by party, but isn't necessarily MAGA or the Trump diehard that you see as the supporter base. So let's go on Fox. Let's take it with Bret Baier. He's a fair journalist. She even made a point to say that during it, that, you know, you're a serious journalist and let's try to win over that base. But what I'm concerned about, and we'll play this bite because I think it exemplifies where she had no strategy once she got to the interview. And I think that's problematic if you're running to be the leader of the free world, the president of the United States, the commander in chief. If you go into this with a goal but no strategy to get there, then you're going to have a disaster on your hands. And we've seen that, having a goal with no strategy throughout the Biden administration.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is about turning the
pollsters,
page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
She could have had a clear strategy to differentiate herself from Joe Biden and the administration very easily without even being nasty towards her current boss. But instead, she tried to make it about Donald Trump. And I don't think that her target voter block that she was hopefully trying to reach with this cares at all about what she had to say there.
No, I don't think so either. I think that if you're trying to reach a Fox News audience, and within that audience, really a specific block, so not the MAGA voter who's watching to see, you know, what do we need to do? Does she use the same word salad? Is it just as bad as all the other interviews? But you're trying to reach a Fox News voter who is unsure about Donald Trump and is saying, okay, well, if Harris is willing to come to Fox News and do this interview with Bret Baier, maybe I will at least give it a listen, and that might then change some minds, or at least tone down the I guess dissent from Harris. Maybe say, well, you know, it hasn't necessarily changed how I'm going to vote yet. I'm not sure 19 days out, but I could rethink this. Instead, it was the same kind of no answers to specific questions. I mean, the only time she really tries to distance herself from President Biden was when she said, you know, that it won't be the same. Just look at me. That's not what people are talking about, not identity politics. You can't keep telling us you're going to turn a new page when you didn't raise your voice for now nearly 4 years. And obviously you weren't. If you did believe that those were policies that needed to be changed in the last 4 years, no one in that White House, including President Biden, trusted you or thought you were someone who they should listen to and take advice from.
If you want to reach those voters, they're not concerned about Donald Trump's policies, that the targeted voter that she was probably trying to reach, Fox News audience, but maybe not sold out MAGA rally going conservative. But instead of taking the time to say, look, Bret, constitutionally, I'm the vice president. A lot of these things I didn't have the ability to do. You can keep saying I was in power, but I am a support role to the president. That's why I'll be different. A layup answer she could not utter. And I think to some degree, she's still concerned about her relationship with Joe Biden. But let's go ahead and play Bite 11 because Bret Baier gives her so much opportunity to extrapolate this, to really lay out why she will be different, and she just can't.
Madam Vice President, you were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be one change in terms of. Yes. But also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently? Let
me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership.
Gave her plenty of time to even think about it by playing 2 sound bites. So he's being gracious to the vice president by allowing that, and still just a very broad-brush, generalistic answer.
Yes, which is all we've gotten from Harris. And I think this is the frustration of voters when you're getting 19 days out and you can't be more specific than what she did with Bret Baier. I mean, again, he gave her an opportunity to actually come out with a different explanation for what she meant in those interviews and what she means with turn the page, and this is going to be something new. But I think what's happened, Will, to this campaign so far is what you said. The Republicans are on the ground. We're doing the work that you need to do to win elections. A lot of this now is getting people to vote in early voting and then getting people to make sure on election day that they get out and vote and they are excited.